What's up, expats and travelers alike? I'm Josh with Expats Everywhere.
And I'm Kaylee.
And this is our review preview show. In today's show, we're going to talk about the top 5 places for expats to live in Sweden. Some of the cities might be obvious while others aren't, so we're excited to get this information to you guys.
We have an interview from an expat living in Stockholm, which you can check out up here. And then after we talk about Sweden, we'll give some shout outs to comments from our channel and Instagram page.
Then we will review our previous video from last Sunday and preview our upcoming video for this Sunday.
Be sure you check out our channel on Thursdays when we load our review preview show, and then on Sundays when we load our interviews.
Alright, let's chat about Sweden. Kaylee and I have visited a few different cities in Sweden, and we found them to all be different.
Right, so we've been to Gothenburg and Malmo on the west coast and Stockholm on the east coast. And they all seem like great places for expats to live. But let's see if they make our top 5 list.
That's right. First, we're going to start you guys off with an easy one and an obvious one, Stockholm.
Surprised? Shouldn't be.
No. Stockholm's population is 1.6 million people in the urban area and then 900,000 in the municipality. There are over 100,000 foreigners living in Stockholm, the biggest groups coming from Finland, Iraq, Poland, Iran, and Somalia.
Capital cities always have lots of things to do, so Stockholm is no exception there. The cafe culture is amazing, so you can work digitally and have some good coffee, or there are lots of corporate jobs as well, or international schools, so lots of options in Stockholm.
And if you have kids, you can get them into those international schools. I love Stockholm personally. I think it's an awesome city. There's a lot going on, a lot to do, and it's also walkable.
It's very walkable, and the architecture is beautiful. Along the river, it's just so pretty to see.
The one downside to Stockholm I found compared to the other cities we've been to and just what we know about Sweden is it is definitely more expensive.
True, it is expensive, but it would be a great place to live, especially if you want to live in a big city.
Stockholm is on the east coast, so now we're going to jump to the west coast with the next city on our list being Malmo. It's much smaller than Stockholm with a population of 316,000 people. There are roughly 64,000 foreigners living in Malmo. The biggest groups coming from Iraq, Denmark, Syria, Poland, and Bosnia-Herzegovina.
A great thing about Malmo is the fantastic connection between Malmo and Copenhagen through the bridge on the train. So you can just take that train right over and it's great, and that's good for expats. There's actually 5 massive expat companies there.
Those big companies are Skanska, which is heavy construction, Nobina for transportation, PostNord, which is a postal service, Pagen is a bakery, and then IKEA, of course. Malmo has also seen an uptick of companies that have moved there with a lot of startup companies there.
What did you think of Malmo when we visited there?
I thought Malmo was pretty cool. There was like a bit of an edginess to it. It's definitely much smaller, so it's easier to walk around. I think it's about the same price-wise. Pretty similar.
Yeah, I think Sweden overall is just on the pricier side. However, Malmo, I think I liked that it was small. So if you're not interested in a huge city as an expat, but you want to live as an expat in more of a, not quaint, but just kind of chiller vibe, Malmo would be your place.
Yeah, definitely. I think rents are a little cheaper, but I think that you're still getting some of that expense being so close to Copenhagen.
That's true. But it is nice to be close to Copenhagen because you can pop over there quite easily. And Josh and I actually did that. We took the train and it was super easy.
Yeah.
Following Malmo for number 3 is Helsingborg, which is also on the west coast. It's just a little further north of Malmo. This one might be a little bit of a surprise to you for being on our list, but it's actually billed as the friendliest city in Sweden.
That's right. And the population even smaller than Malmo with around 100,000 people, but it's significantly cheaper than Stockholm.
There are about 15,000 expats, and there's an IKEA corporate office there, as well as Nicorette, like the gum factory.
Soy Gas Coffee Company has been located there for well over a century, and the medical and communications company Spectronic is also in Helsingborg.
We have a really good friend who's from there, and he actually has a YouTube channel where it's all in Swedish, but a really cool YouTube channel to check out, and he loves it there.
He does, and if you guys are learning Swedish, I really recommend watching his videos because he's very articulate, so it's easy to pick up on his pronunciation of things, and it's interesting content to listen to. It's good for the mind.
We'll go ahead and put his YouTube channel in the description below. Number 4 on our list is still on the West Coast. It's Gothenburg. The city has a population of over 1 million in the metro area and then around 600,000 in the municipality.
But get this, 25% of Gothenburg is foreign-born. The largest groups coming from Iraq, Iran, Somalia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Finland. The city has an economy that's anchored in its history in shipping and trade. But in recent years, the city has brought in more high-tech jobs.
And other very notable aspects to the economy would be manufacturing and industry. Overall, you should be thinking of companies like SKF, Volvo, and Ericsson.
When we were visiting Sweden, I actually preferred Gothenburg over Malmo. What do you think?
Why is that?
I don't know. It was bigger, but also like the feeling I had walking around the city. You know what? Like when you walk around a place, you just get a feeling like this vibe a city has. And I don't mean like a airy-fairy vibe. I mean like it was a little more peaceful.
So like more peaceful than Stockholm too? Not as crazy busy, I guess?
Stockholm had a good energy, but there was something about Malmo's energy, I don't know, that I didn't like.
Oh, okay. And I mean, Gothenburg is bigger, so you get a lot of tourism there as well. So they're used to having expats. So it's kind of just West Coast, East Coast, a little different than Stockholm.
Gothenburg was more charming. It had a bit of a charm to it.
Yeah.
That's what I liked. Yeah, and before we get to the last city on our list, we do have to give a mention to Uppsala, which is not in our top 5. Uppsala is a great city because it has one of the top universities in the country, so you can imagine the nightlife, the bars and such. However, the reason it's not on our list is because the crime is going up. It's pretty rough there. 4 out of 5 girls reported feeling unsafe due to male gangs.
Which is a really high stat for crime, and that's why we didn't want to put it on here. And Uppsala is great. It's got some good jobs there for like bars and restaurants and such, but it's got a different vibe than the ones that we're comparing, so we didn't want to add it to the list.
Uppsala, I like saying Uppsala. So let's get to the final city on the list, which is Lund. Also on the West Coast, Lund has a population of around 123,000 people and 14,000 are expats.
Lund has one of, if not the best university in Sweden, which is Lund University. It's also a great place for high-tech companies because some major employers have their offices there, like Microsoft, Ericsson, and Sony Mobile. There's also important things happening in the pharmaceutical and biotech industries there.
So that rounds out the top 5 cities for expats in Sweden. So just to recap, we chose Stockholm, Malmo, Helsingborg, Gothenburg, and Lund. Tell us what you think, and if you're an expat already living in that city, reach out to us. We would love to do an interview with you.
We hope you enjoyed our list. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to get those updates. Now let's go ahead and move on to our comment section.
Yes, big thanks to Sofitel in Fiji who reposted our picture of the spa there. It was awesome to get a shout out from you guys, so we wanted to give you a shout out back.
The spa is absolutely amazing, and just like we put in our post, it is a must-do if you're in Fiji.
Absolutely. We have 2 comments we wanted to highlight on an interview that we did not so long ago about the best cities for expats in Central and Eastern Europe. The first one is from Roro G. By the way, didn't watch the whole video, but notice how the guy asks about the Baltics and the girl mentions Bulgaria several times. Both are very different. The Baltic is classic Eastern Europe, plenty of super white people, many Russians, and it's cold overall. Estonia is the same level as Western Europe economically. Bulgaria is basically Lebanon, Turkey if they spoke Slavic languages and had communist buildings. Thanks for the comment. I did the interview and asked Kristen midway through the interview to clarify where the Baltic countries fit into her assessment, and she goes into that and explains a bit more.
The other comment on that video is from Ice Baby, who said, "Thanks guys, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year." And so we just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as well.
Merry Christmas. Lastly, SBK wrote on our Fiji video, I love that name. New sub here, thank you for that. Thanks for your lovely video. Shame you didn't visit the smaller islands, especially Mamanukas, where tourists normally go. That's the place I would highly recommend. Good luck to you both. We would love to go back and visit Fiji, and we will add that island to our list.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back to Fiji, and there's lots of islands to visit, so it's on the list now. The very long list. Okay, so moving on, let's review our last week's video and preview what's coming up. Our last video was actually from an expat who lives in Fiji. Her name is Shantae.
Fiji!
And she talks about life there and
Bula.
what her experiences are like.
This coming Sunday, we are loading a video with Andrew, the owner of Insured Nomads. And Andrew and I had a great interview where we talked about the difference in travel insurance and expat insurance. And I know that insurance can be a really dry topic, but it's an important topic and we try not to make it so dry. So check that one out, especially if you're a digital nomad, because a lot of these countries you want to move to, you're going to want to have some sort of insurance.
Yeah, it's different if you're going with a company and they provide those things and you don't even have to think about it. But when you're going digitally or in a different type of capacity where there's not a company providing it, you definitely want to get insurance, and it can be kind of daunting trying to figure out what that looks like. So this is a good interview for you guys.
Be sure to check out the community tab on our channel because we want to hear from you guys. The question we're asking right now is, what time do you start work? The big winner right now is between 7 and 9 a.m. with 67%.
And then 8% of you said that you have to start before 7 a.m. Ugh, that's so early. But also 8% was 9 to 12, which
Nice.
I like that a little better. And then 17% of you said that you start afternoon, evening. I'm personally not a morning person, so I like where that 8% is between the 9 and 12, but I know you're different.
Yeah, I mean, I naturally wake up a little before 8, so if I can get up and get started around 8, I'm happy as a clam.
But we would be interested to know, those who have to start in the afternoon, evening, what kind of jobs do you guys have that you're doing that? Server, work in a hospital, what kind of expats are you that you're working later in the day?
Yeah, so if you're an expat that has a job that has you starting later in the day, let us know in the comment section where you're an expat and what type of job you have.
And then I'm also interested in knowing those who have to get up at 7 a.m. Is it because you want to or because you have to?
Yeah.
So put that in the comments below as well. Well, everyone, that's all for this week's episode of Review Preview. For all of those who celebrate, happy Boxing Day.
And for everyone around the world, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. Bye.
Bye.